In the first 18 years of my life, I've lived in 24 different places, and I'm proud to say that since January of 2010, I was able to make San Clemente my home. I love it. I've never lived anywhere longer in my life, and I'm proud to say that I'm to raise my family here for the rest of our lives. I am in favor of property rights. I think property rights are sacred. That's why I'm endorsed by a lot of organizations that think the same way. Orange County Republican Party being one, Chamber of Commerce being another. As far as am I in favor of the ban on three-story development, I am not in favor of that ban. I think that we have adequate safeguards in place. I think that if we think that the safeguards that we have in place are too lax, then they should be addressed at that level. We should make them stricter. We should make them more restrictive. We can increase the square footage requirements from 12,000 square feet to 15,000 square feet. The parking requirements by an additional 15 spots. There are things to do. That's a planning decision. It should be kept as a planning decision. That doesn't mean that I want a canyon running down Del Mar. I do not. And I don't think it'll ever happen. But what it does mean is it respects property rights and it allows the project to be considered on a case-by-case basis, which is what I'm in favor of. Now, can I answer the fourth question? Because it was a lengthy one, and I don't recall what it is.
I'm sorry,
it's only 1 minute.
have 1 minute.
There's 4 questions, right?
Look at all these questions.
Okay. Well, TBD.
Okay.
North Beach has a lot of potential, and we need to maximize that potential. We need to work with the business groups and the residents in that area to formulate a community-wide plan. I've been talking to a lot of the folks down there, a lot of the business groups down there, and a lot of the residents. And one of the things that I'd like to see, quite frankly, is an eclectic little village emerge from that area. The Miramar is one thing. It's one building. It's the centerpiece, more or less, of North Beach, and so is the casino, and that is a model for what could be done in terms of reusing historical buildings. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here. There are plenty of examples of historic theaters being reused in creative ways. There are plenty of examples of structures like the bowling alley being reused in creative ways. We could figure that out. We can work with the business owners, with the property owners to figure that out. What would I like to see down there? I'd like to see some outdoor dining. I'd like to see some rooftop dining down there. I think that would be exciting. I think we could get the whole community involved in something like that. Parking is an issue. We have a lot of lots. The city owns a few lots in that area. We can pave those lots and create some additional parking if that's really the issue. As an attorney, I dedicated 4 years of my legal practice and hundreds of hours a year to working on pro bono cases, to helping homeless individuals, to helping foster care children. It's something that's near and dear to my heart. I think the city needs to be very proactive in working with the nonprofit groups. We've lost thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars from the state when the state took money away from the cities. I think that we need to work closely with the nonprofit groups to address the situation, to be proactive. Jim is right. I think that identifying areas in commercial areas would be the best. And to answer the question directly, we must comply with state law. It's the law. Absolutely. But we need money. And that's why we need to be a more business-friendly town. Did you know that San Clemente is in the bottom third of all Orange County cities in terms of sales tax revenue generation? Bottom third. We're near dead last in coastal Orange County cities. We need to do a better job of generating sales tax revenue so that we could fund important things like this. Recreational activities for these folks and for these kids is essential. It's vital to a community. It's vital to the quality of life of our community. So that's why being pro-business, having a proactive plan to be more business-friendly, to expand our sales tax base, that does not mean raising taxes. It means doing more business in the city. That's why it's so important. We need those added revenues, because that way we can keep up with the increasing expenses. I disagree with Bob. I don't think that Del Mar is for just us. I think it's for everybody. And I think that the business owners want it to be for everybody. Everybody should come down to Del Mar and they should celebrate it. They should frequent the businesses. The village character isn't what brings people down there and keeps people down there. It's the businesses that keep people down there. It's the good restaurants. It's the great shops. It's the farmers market that Mr. Baker voted against. It's the stores, and it's the people, and that's what it is. We need more outdoor dining down there. We need more people down there spending more time down there. That's why the farmers market is great. You get people down there, they're buying produce, they're frequenting the shops and the stores. That's why this works. I support the Downtown Business Association. I support the Chamber of Commerce. We need to give the business owners some flexibility, and we also need to figure out creative ways to solve some of our parking problems. Just commenting quickly on Bob's rebuttal with respect to the farmers market, one of the worst things to do to a business in a down economy is to raise rents. All right? You don't tax people in recessions, and you don't increase costs on businesses in down times. So while it might be considered by some fiscally conservative, by many others it's just a bad business decision. But what we have to do is to support these programs because it brings people downtown. And when you get people downtown, they stay downtown. And they shop downtown. And they eat downtown. My wife and I, we are always downtown. We love to go to Calypso for the Chinese chicken salad. We're at Nick's sometimes with our friends. We go to, it's a Vila's El Ranchito. We go to a Vila's El Ranchito for tacos. I love those tacos. My wife loves Lincoln Street. She buys jewelry all over Lincoln Street. I haven't purchased anything at some of the other stores. The antique shop that Mr. Kopp owns. I'm going to get there. I'm going to buy something. I promise. There's currently no plan before the City Council with respect to those signs. I think it's important that any council member be thoughtful and consider both sides of any issue when it comes to any decision that they make. I want to see the plans. I want to see the size of the signs. I want to see what they're going to look like. I want to see the arguments for and against. I want to hear what the residents have to say. I want to see what the site impacts are. I want to see how lit they are. I want to see all of these things. I want to consider all of these things. And we're talking about two different signs. Two different categories of signs. They are project signs, and we're talking about tenant signs. So there's a lot of things to consider here, and the developer is going to have to go back at it, resubmit a plan with the full EIR, the Environmental Impact Report, consider all of these things, and when it comes before the council, you can be assured two things from me. Number one, I will consider it with an open mind, and I will do what's best for San Clemente. And number two, I will ensure that it's done tastefully, that it does not impact adversely our village character, and that in fact, it enhances our city. That's what we need. Under no circumstances would I support a toll road ending at Pico. The traffic impacts would be immense. I don't think it would add any value to San Clemente whatsoever. There's no plan for the 241 connecting anywhere to San Clemente at the moment, so it's hard to evaluate the hypothetical without saying all of the facts, but I could say directly to that question that as it relates to connecting to Pico, I would not support that. I feel like we should all give each other a big group hug. This is the least controversial question of the night. We all support the La Plata extension. I think that we all can agree that we believe that there's going to be some positive traffic impacts on all the arterials. Only the federal government will hold a meeting at St. Regis. You gotta love those guys. Look, as far as evacuation routes, you need to be proactive rather than reactive, no pun intended. You need to have a plan in place, and you need to have alternate routes out of town. So again, connecting La Plata, harkening back to that, that's another reason why that's so critical. Unless I see statistics and data that shows with scientific certainty that the problems have been fixed and that this thing is safe, I can't, as the father of a 3-year-old, say I would support the restart of this thing. We're talking about a very old nuclear plant, and we all live in very close proximity to this thing. And we just came out of a summer where I didn't see major impacts on my electricity bill or on my electricity. So I think we need to talk about all of these things. We need to have a community-wide discussion. We need to involve the federal government, and whether it's the St. Regis or not. I've actually tasted toilet-to-tap water. It's not bad. It was at a plant in Huntington Beach that actually does it, and I toured it. And I've toured a couple water reclamation plants. The problem with that is it's very, very expensive. And it might not make much sense to do that extreme of water reclamation. I think what San Clemente is doing and being proactive about recycling its water is very, very smart. Another thing that we need to be proactive in doing is reducing upstream water, right? Water consumption on the upstream. So, like Jim was saying, you use recycled water at golf courses and for landscaping, commercial, residential. But you also sort of rethink the landscaping, right? You could have very low water usage landscaping. I like the low flow, the low water usage, things that you could do in commercial applications and residential applications. We should look at maybe trying to incentivize businesses and residences to doing that. We're known as the Spanish Village by the Sea. There are a few by the seas, Cardiff, Carmel. I like the Spanish Village by the Sea. I think that we should emphasize that. I think it demonstrates our character, our founding character. We like the idea that it's a village, and it's a surf village. It's a beach town. That's what we need to emphasize. But we also need to emphasize that we're more than that. We're somewhere that you want to live, you want to work, and you want to play. Making San Clemente a more business-friendly town. I want people to come to San Clemente and know that the permitting processes will be consistent, that licensing will be consistent, that they can own and operate a business without the government getting in too much of the way. And to that end, and in order to do this, there are a number of ways that we need to work together with the city and with the business community, perhaps form a task force that will look at this and figure out ways to streamline these processes. Another thing, I want to expand our local sales tax base. That's critical. It's critical to controlling our own destiny and to preserving our own fiscal health. And the one thing that I will be most proud of, or one of the things I will be most proud of, is increasing the outdoor dining space that we have in the city. We have one of the best climates in the country. We call it the world's best climate. And we have as few outdoor dining spaces and options as I've seen in coastal Orange County. I think this selection comes down to perspective. I'm offering a common sense perspective. I am for a strong economy. A rising tide lifts all ships, as they say. I am for a safe community. Okay, as I mentioned, I have a 3-year-old son, and I want the safest possible community for not only for him, but for everybody's families. All right, and I'm glad that Mr. Baker pointed out that flyer, and I saw that today. It's the first time I've ever seen anything like that, and I was shocked that you would vote against banning smoking in public parks. I mean, that's something that's such a no-brainer for me, to have someone smoking next to my child. I can't even fathom why anyone would vote against that. Anyway, Mike Mortenson for City Council. I really, really appreciate the opportunity and your vote.